Well, hello again. Welcome to Myth and Meaning, Storyteller's Hearth. I've got a new mic. I'm quite pleased about it actually. Hopefully it's going to sound a bit better for you guys because I was kind of leaning over my computer rather uncomfortably telling you the lost tales. And happy newness to everybody. I hope the new year brings you everything that you wish for, and I hope all that festive season went well for everyone. And these storms that we're having in the UK, I hope they're not affecting you too much. I'm kind of missing the snow, to be honest with you, because I'm quite far down southwards, so we're just getting a bit of rain down here. Anyway, I'd like to share with you one of my Selkie tales. I've got a few of them, and they are my favourite stories. And this one comes from Caithness, and it's got a little lighthouse keeper up in Caithness. So I think I'll take you there now. So it was Jack's turn to go and to take over the lighthouse. Him and his wife were chatting, and the bairns were round his feet, and he was packing his bags and telling the kids he'd be back in a couple of months, maybe 3 months, depending on the weather, because the lighthouse was quite far out and they could only access it by a wee boat. And his wife helped him pack his boxes and pack a couple of bags. So away he went on his wee boat to the lighthouse. Took himself upstairs, checked the lights, checked the lenses, everything was fine, and went down to the floor below to his bedroom and unpacked his boxes. And as he was unpacking the boxes, he'd taken his shoes off at the door. So I could do with my slippers. So he goes to the box where his slippers are in, and he notices there's only 3 slippers in there. His lovely lady had only packed 3 for some reason. He says, "Oh, well, never mind. It's like 1 pair will do. I don't really need 2 pairs. There's not much chance of them getting wet in here." So he donned his slippers and just started setting himself up in his kitchen. Went downstairs, sorted the kitchen out and kind of remade the spare bed, because there was like a wee room downstairs in the kitchen. A wee spare room, so he kind of tidied himself up, had a bit of a brush up, and the weather was quite fine, so he decided to take a little walk around the island. As he was walking around the island, you could see all the wee seals popping their heads up, looking at him, and he'd kind of wave at them. He was very friendly with the seals, he was. And he came back in, made himself a little brew, made himself some food, and kept an eye on things. And that night a big storm came in. A huge, huge storm. Waves were crashing over the top of the lighthouse, and Jack was a bit weary, because the storms do come in up there. But it's quite early. It's usually you get a few days reprieve before one turned up. But nonetheless, the storm came in. And it lasted a couple of days, so he just set about his job and made sure the lighthouse was in good condition and making sure everything was tip top. And then the storm subsided, and he said, "Oh, well, it seems to have cleared. I think I'll go and have a wee fish in me cove." There was a wee cove just down the way from the lighthouse. Bit of a scramble to get there, but nonetheless he could get down there, and he got his fishing rod, got his boots on, put his jacket on, and he made himself a little flask, and away he went down to his wee cove. And he sat himself down, set himself up, and he went to cast his line, but he noticed something at the corner of his eye. And he looked over across the wee cove, and he saw a wee baby seal. It looked a bit poorly, and it wasn't moving much. And Jack, being a very caring man, he took his gear off and he waded into the water. And the water was freezing cold. And he waded across to the other side of this cove, and there was a little baby seal, quite forlorn and very, very poorly. So Jack picked him up and waded across and put his clothes on, but then he didn't put his coat on because he put the seal into his coat, and he got a pair of sticks and put them through the sleeves, and he made like a wee stretcher for the little seal. And so he got his fishing rod and he tucked it away in a crevice in one of the caves, so it would be safe there. And he took the wee seal back to the lighthouse. He went in through the door and thought, well, I'll make him a wee bed down the bottom at the end of the spare bed, and I'll get some straw. So Jack went out and got some straw from in the little storage area and knocked together a wee bed for the seal, and he put the seal down, and he had a lot of fish with him. He had a lot of dried fish, so he chopped the fish up and put it with some warm milk, and he kind of spoon fed this little seal. And he didn't think the seal was going to last the night because she was so poorly. So Jack went to bed hoping the seal would make it. He woke up in the morning and there he goes downstairs, and the wee seal's looking at him and it's making a bit of a noise, and it's starting to talk. It said, "Oh, you, good morning. You've made it through. That's really good. I'll get you some breakfast now." So he got some hold of his mackerel. He mixed it with some oats and some warm milk, and then he spoon-fed the wee seal again. And each time he did this, the seal felt a little bit better and started becoming more active. And for this lasted for about a week. And then one day the Jack went to them downstairs after his kip. And we went to the wee seal, and the wee seal was like on the floor and it was kind of flapping around. He said, "Oh, brilliant, she's getting better. She's getting much better now, that's good news." He says, "You just wait there. I've got to go out and get some fish for you." So he fed her a little bit of the dried fish and went out fishing to his cove, and he caught quite a few big fish and brought them back to the lighthouse. Set some up for dry and he set some up for smoking, and then he fried a couple of fillets for him and his new friend. And the days went by and the days went by, and the wee seal became more and more friendly and more active, and it would flap around the bottom of the lighthouse and flipping its flippers on the floor, on the stone floor. And Jack would laugh, and eventually the seal managed to get himself upstairs. And he says, "Oh, what are you doing up there? Come back down." And the wee seal, it comes down with a slipper in his mouth. He says, "Oh, that'll be a good game." So he gets the slipper off the seal and he throws it, and the seal goes and gets the slipper and brings it back and drops it at his feet. He said, "Oh, this is a great game, this one." So away he goes and gets his other two slippers, and he throws them too, and the seal's chuffed. It just loves chasing slippers and bringing them back and leaving them on his feet. And then eventually the seal started taking the slippers upstairs, one by one. I said, "What are you doing?" And the wee seal would take them all the way up the stairs, on the big stone stairs, and then leave one by his bed, come down and get the other, leave the other by his bed, and then come down and get the last one and go up again and leave that by his bed. So that was the game. The game was to chase the slippers, catch the slippers, and then eventually the wee seal would very kindly place them at the end of his bed, all three slippers in a wee row. So time went by, and the seal was getting stronger now. She was strong enough to get back into the water and not get too soft in the lighthouse with Jack. So again he gets his coat and he gets the two sticks and he puts them through the sleeves, and he makes a wee stretcher and puts the seal in the stretcher, and he hikes her up and he takes her all the way back down to the wee cove, and he sets her off in the water. And he's a bit sad about this because they got to know each other quite well, and it was a wee friend of his, and he'd be all alone again in this lighthouse. So she slipped into the water and swam off, and then Jack thought that was it, and then all of a sudden she comes back up, pops her head through the water and gives him a good look with her big brown eyes. And Jack's like, "Oh, she's come to say goodbye. Bless her." And I'm very thankful of that. So a little bit forlorn, but a bit grateful, he goes back to his lighthouse. A couple of days go by and he's feeling quite lonely now. But nonetheless, he's done the right thing. The wee seal's back with his family and safe and sound. So one day, the storm comes again. It's a greater storm than the one before. The waves are crashing way over the lighthouse. It's absolutely screaming and howling outside. And Jack's getting a bit worried because one of the lenses isn't it's just not functioning right. So he goes up and he oils it, and he doesn't notice there's a bit of oil. This slipping has landed on the floor, and he's only in his slippers. So hurriedly he's like, "Oh man, I've left me soup on the stove. I better get down and do that. I better turn it off." And he turns, and he goes to the stairs and then slips and stumbles All the way down the spiral stone staircase he goes, and all the way to the bottom. Crunch. He kind of comes to with a pounding head. And the storm's screaming outside. He's like, oh, the lighthouse, the lenses, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And he goes to get up and he's like, I can't stand up. And he looks like he's broken his ankle. And he feels his arm and he goes to push himself up with his arm and he can't bring himself up with his arm because again looks like he's broken his wrist and he's got a hell of a lump on his head. He's like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I can't even get up the stairs. I mean, I hope that lens is alright. I'm going to drag myself into the bed down here and just hopefully he'll recover. And as he's dragging himself along and the storm's screaming outside and howling and the rain's battering against the window, he hears a knock on the door. He's like, who's going to be knocking on the door through this storm on a wee island? So he shouts, he says, oh, come in. I can't answer the door for you, but you've got to open it yourself. Just lift up that heavy latch. As he shouts, and then the latch opens and he looks up and there before him is the most beautiful woman he's ever seen in his days. The most beautiful lady with the biggest brown eyes. And a long coat, all the way from her neck, all the way down to her ankles. And he's like, oh, close the door. What are you doing here? She said, well, I've just been stranded. Our boat's gone down and I saw the island and I swam to the island. I don't know where my people are, but I will find them. But can I take shelter here? And he says, oh, of course you can. And she says, well, what's happened to you? So he explains about the storm and leaving his soup on and the oil and slipping down the stairs. And now he's broken his ankle and he's broken his wrist and he got a lump on his head and he's not feeling very well. She said, well, just let me get you onto the bed. So she helps him onto the bed and kind of lifts him, and she seems really, really strong for her. She wasn't a big girl, she was just an average sized girl, but very pretty with a big moon face. She picks him up and lays him in the bed. He said, oh, the lens, I've got to adjust that lens. She said, don't worry about that, I'll do that for you. You just rest. And then Jack falls fast asleep. And when he awakes, there's these pulses on his ankle and there's something on his wrist and he's got something on his head and he's like, oh woman, I thought you were a dream. And I thought that whole thing was a dream, but I have broken my ankle and I've broken my wrist and you're here. How did you get here? And she said, well, never mind that, Jack. I did explain to you how I'm here, but what I've done is I've gone out and I've collected certain things and I've made a polish for you and I'm going to put them on you. I'm going to make a fresh one every day for your wrist and your ankle and for your head. He says, well, to be honest with you, they are feeling a little bit better. And they start chatting and getting to know each other and becoming friends. And every morning, regardless of the weather, and sometimes to chat to sermons, she goes out. Even through a big storm, she goes out to get his polish to go and collect the seaweed. And she brought it in and crushed it with some certain herbs that she's found on the sparse grassland and the rocks. And every day she redressed his wounds, and it just went on and on. And every day he got a wee bit better, and he got in better spirits. And he's like, well, I don't know what this polish is, but it's really helping because I can feel my ankle healing and I can almost walk on it. And she said, Jack, just take it easy. You'll be healed soon enough. And she was right, because soon enough he was healed. I said, well, I can't thank you enough. I just can't thank you enough. I mean, I don't know what you did there, but it's a miracle. I can walk and I can use my hand, and my head's absolutely fine. And I feel right as rain. In fact, I feel like a better man. Because that food you gave me, I've never tasted anything like it in my life. And she said, well, Jack, I'm glad you're well, but it's time for me to go. I said, you can't go out now, it's pitch black. She said, well, I've got a feeling I'll be able to find my people. I know where my boat is. So I'm going to go out, I'm going to go and find my people. And he's like, I really don't want you to go. You've become such a good friend of mine, And look, I'm going to miss your company, but if you need to find your people, you need to find your people. I says, yes, Jack, I do. And with that, she gracefully shook his hand and left. And he was thinking, where did she put about? And where are her people? And he said, oh, well, never mind. And I'm going to try and get myself upstairs now. So Jack grabs hold of the rope to the side of the wall and he pulls with his arm, and he's fine. He can get all the way up to the stairs to his bedroom. And he's looking around and he looks at the end of the bed, and there are his 3 slippers, all lined up, ready, waiting for him to wear.